I always felt like I'd be shot. I always felt like I was going to die before I was ready. Tupac said that on camera. He did not flinch. He did not hesitate. He said it the way someone describes a road they have already seen the end of. Tupac Shakur sold over 75 million records. His death at 25 years old triggered mourning on every continent. His mother, Afeni Shakur, laid his remains to rest at a private memorial site on family land in North Carolina, alongside personal belongings she sealed away from the public. No visitors, no cameras, no access. For 30 years that site stayed sealed, then they opened it. What they found inside was never on any memorial record. Tupac had left something behind, and the people connected to his final night in Las Vegas have spent 3 decades hoping nobody would ever find it. For 30 years, nobody disturbed that memorial. Afeni Shakur maintained it alone until her own death in 2016. After that, the family kept it sealed. No press, no estate representatives, no exceptions. Then the family made a decision. The memorial was going to be opened. Why now? Why after 30 years? The emotional reason came first. Tupac was 25 when he was taken, just 25. A man who had already changed the world and was nowhere near finished. Afeni had carried that loss for 20 years before she died. She never saw anyone held responsible for her son's death. The remaining family wanted to honor her wishes. They wanted to know what she had sealed inside. Then came the official reason. The renewed investigation after Keefe D's arrest in 2023 brought new attention to Tupac's final months. A legal review confirmed the site needed structural restoration. But here is something most people do not know. The family had requested access 3 years before the arrest. For 3 years, nothing moved. Then, within weeks of the indictment, everything accelerated. Nobody has explained the timing. What were they not ready to face? The team assembled was small, no press, no label executives, no representatives from the estate's commercial partners. Tupac had not been passive in his final months. He had been recording, writing, and preparing, and Afeni had placed something inside that memorial she intended only family to one day find. To understand what was found inside, you first need to understand why Afeni chose that location, because it was not just a resting place. It was a vault. When Tupac died on September 13, 1996, the grief crossed every boundary drawn around him. Vigils erupted in Los Angeles, New York, Atlanta, and overseas. Record stores sold out of his albums within hours. He was 25 years old. The world mourned him like he had been here for decades. Afeni Shakur, a former Black Panther who had defended herself in court while pregnant with Tupac, made the decision alone. She rejected Los Angeles. She rejected a public memorial. She chose private family land in North Carolina, far from the industry and far from death row records. She sealed his remains alongside personal items in a private structure on the property. Access required the family's direct permission. No estate manager, no label, no outside party could enter without Afeni's say. That matters more than it sounds, because what Afeni placed inside that memorial was not just sentimental. Tupac had given her materials in the months before Las Vegas. She kept them where no one in the music industry could reach them. The memorial was not just where he rested, it was where she kept what her son needed the world to one day find. The morning was still dark at 5:20 a.m. The property gates were locked. Staff from the estate's North Carolina management had been told to stay away. A single family-appointed security guard stood at the entrance to the memorial structure. The team was 4 people, 1 preservation specialist, 1 structural engineer, 1 funeral services professional, 1 family representative. No member of the Shakur family beyond the designated representative has confirmed attendance. Tupac's godfather, the actor Jasmine Guy, was reportedly informed. Whether Tupac's half-sister Sekiwa was present has never been confirmed. Imagine being Sekiwa, knowing that the memorial your mother built and protected for 20 years was being opened without certainty of what was inside. The work took 5 hours. When the inner chamber was finally accessed, the team stepped back. The family representative moved forward alone. It was the first time since Afeni sealed it that any human being had looked at Tupac's final resting place. 30 years of silence. And now this. Here is something important to understand about what they found. The inner structure was climate sealed. Afeni had commissioned archival-grade preservation lining, the kind used for documents, not memorials. That investment is deliberate. Whoever made that choice expected what was inside to be recovered one day. Then the objects were found. Items inside the memorial that appeared on no inventory, no record, no documentation. The family representative asked everyone to step back. Something had been found, something significant. The documented items were accounted for first. A gold medallion Tupac wore during his final photo sessions, a copy of The Art of War by Sun Tzu, his favorite book, with handwritten notes in the margins. A framed photograph of Afeni holding Tupac as a baby, her Black Panther beret still on her head, and a single red rose preserved and sealed in resin. Afeni had placed it there herself. Think about that for a moment. A mother who fought the United States government while pregnant. who raised her son alone, who watched him become the voice of a generation, who then buried him at 25 and placed a rose beside him because after everything she had survived, that was all she had left to give. That rose was not a flower, it was a mother's final word to her son, the only gesture left when the world had taken everything else. Most people would see that and think it was simply grief, but think about the woman who placed it. A woman who had been a Black Panther, who had been arrested, tried, and acquitted, who raised a son the FBI had already opened a file on before he turned 20. For that woman, sealing a rose in resin and placing it beside her child was not sentimental. It was defiance. It was a mother saying, "You took him from me, but you will never take this moment." Then came the things that were never supposed to be found. Inside a sealed metal case, positioned beneath the documented items, sat handwritten pages, letters in Tupac's handwriting, notebooks, and sealed envelopes, each addressed to a specific person, each marked, "Do not open until I am gone." One reportedly bore the name of someone still active in the music industry. Others bore names that have never been disclosed. And then the detail that changed everything. A photograph of Tupac with a woman taken weeks before Las Vegas, with a date and a handwritten note on the back. Sources say the note referenced a plan to leave Death Row Records permanently and start an independent label outside Suge Knight's control. If Tupac was truly planning to walk away, that changes what he had to lose, and what others stood to lose if he lived. Imagine being the family representative in that moment, standing in that memorial, 30 years after Afeni sealed it, finding that Tupac had anticipated this. He had prepared. He had given his mother the record he could not trust anyone else to keep. Inside the notebooks, those who have seen them say Tupac described a growing fear in the months before Las Vegas. Not anxiety about fame, not stress about music, fear. Specific, repeated, documented fear about the people closest to him. Kevin Powell, the journalist who interviewed Tupac multiple times for Vibe magazine, confirmed it. Tupac told him directly that he believed people around him wanted him gone. He did not say this in panic or emotion. He said it calmly, during an interview, as if describing something he had already accepted. That calmness is what makes it so disturbing. But Powell was not the only one. Kidada Jones, Tupac's girlfriend, was at the hospital when he died. She has said publicly that in the weeks before Las Vegas, Tupac spoke about not making it. She kept those words private for nearly 3 decades. 2 people, 2 separate occasions, the same warning. After Tupac died, the Las Vegas police investigation stalled for 27 years. No arrest until 2023. The most famous unsolved shooting in music history, and nobody moved. Tupac knew these institutions would fail him, so he created his own record. He gave it to the one person he trusted completely. Afeni sealed it inside a climate-controlled memorial on private land where no label, no police department, and no record executive could reach it. They were not confused, they were consistent, and they were terrified. On September 7, 1996, Tupac attended the Mike Tyson fight at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. After the fight, a confrontation broke out. Tupac was involved in an altercation with Orlando Anderson, a known Southside Crip. Later that night, at approximately 11:15 p.m., Tupac was in the passenger seat of Suge Knight's black BMW, stopped at a red light on Flamingo Road. A white Cadillac pulled alongside. Someone opened fire. Tupac was hit 4 times. Suge Knight was grazed by a fragment. The white Cadillac was never recovered. Not one witness provided a license plate. In a city with more surveillance cameras per block than almost anywhere in America, not a single camera captured the vehicle clearly. That is not bad luck, that is a pattern. Tupac survived 6 days at University Medical Center. He died on September 13, 1996. He was 25. Here is something most people do not know. Suge Knight was in the driver's seat. He was barely injured. He drove the car to the side of the road and waited. Tupac sat beside him bleeding. Whether Knight made contact with anyone between the shooting and the arrival of paramedics has never been established. Tupac had told Kevin Powell that people close to him wanted him gone. He had told Kidada Jones he did not expect to survive. He was preparing to leave Death Row Records, an empire that depended on his output. He had recorded hundreds of songs that would generate revenue for decades. Death Row's finances were under federal investigation. Tupac alive and independent was a threat. Tupac's catalog, controlled by others, was worth more than Tupac free. A music journalist who covered Death Row for years said something that has stayed with everyone who heard it. Tupac did not die because he was reckless. He died because he was about to become free. And freedom was the one thing the people around him could not afford. When the contents of the memorial became known, the response was immediate. Not public statements, legal inquiries. Representatives reached out to the Shakur family within weeks, asking about the notebooks. Suge Knight's reaction, relayed from prison, was reportedly complicated. He knows what happened inside Death Row. He knows what Tupac saw and what Tupac documented. The reaction from others still active in the industry was simpler. It was fear. The family refused to share. The materials were found inside a Shakur memorial on Shakur land placed by Afeni Shakur. No label and no former associate has any legal claim. For the first time, something connected to Tupac exists completely outside the industry's reach. They cannot access it. They cannot suppress it. The family is divided. Some want the notebooks kept private. Others believe Tupac left them to be found, that his instructions were not suggestions. They were final wishes. At his memorial in 1996, Afeni Shakur stood before a room of mourners and did not break. She had been a Black Panther. She had faced a government. She was not going to collapse in front of the industry that failed her son. 30 years later, the memorial she built was opened, and inside was proof that Tupac had seen what was coming. He wrote it down, and he gave it to his mother, because she was the only person on earth who would never sell it or let it be buried. This is not the story of a rapper who died in a drive-by in Las Vegas. This is the story of a man who knew what was coming, recorded everything, and made sure that when the ground was finally opened, the truth would still be inside. 30 years later, Tupac still has the last word.